All right. Good Thursday evening, everyone. It is about 9:30 here in Amarillo, Texas. It's January 22nd, year of our Lord 2026. We're tracking that polar plunge. We're about 12 hours out from the start of when we see temperatures fall below freezing here in Amarillo. At least that's what we kind of think right now. There may be a small window in the morning, an hour or two, where we get up to about freezing, maybe a little bit above freezing for an hour before we really start dipping back down into those 20s and teens as we progress further into the evening. So just something that we'll have to keep an eye on that may kind of stretch or shrink kind of like an accordion, the number of hours that we consecutively spend below freezing. So just a minor finite detail in the forecast. Again, really won't mean a whole lot, but other than just maybe the length of this extended deep freeze and maybe where we would rank it from a historical standpoint. Anyhow, let's take a look at your Viper radar and water vapor imagery. You can see we've got a lot of moisture starting to ride up over in Mexico. That's going to eventually lead to some of that rain, freezing rain, sleet, and eventually snow as we get into Friday evening and into this weekend. Temperatures outside, it's 37 here in Amarillo right now, 39 in Vega, 24 in Clayton and Boise City. You all up there will likely stay below freezing, so your clock has already started. It may end up, lasting 4 or 5 days for some of us, where we could spend 120 hours or so below freezing. Wind speeds right now are from the northeast, but the Arctic air has not yet arrived. We've got a light wind. It's under 10 miles an hour in most cases. And then here's a look at those alerts for the winter weather. We have winter storm warning in pink that covers all of the counties except for Hartley, Dallam, Cimarron, and Union County in the far northwestern panhandles. That's where we may have less than significant amounts of snow, but still will be enough to probably your impact your commute should you be trying to travel to and fro to point A and point B. The extreme cold warnings stayed the same since this afternoon or this evening. The extreme cold watch has stayed the same as well. We'll see when the National Weather Service in Amarillo decides to upgrade that to both cold weather advisories probably and an extreme cold warning. Probably something that they're still deliberating on and may deliberate until tomorrow morning for. So here's our computer model. This is a new model from what we showed you earlier this evening. So it might look a little bit different. We're going to show you what the model's best guess is for those snow totals as well. And we're going to kind of break down maybe why they're located in certain spots and if they've got the chance to potentially move or shift over the next 12 to 48 hours. So by tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., Amarillo around freezing. We'll probably start seeing some of that freezing mist and drizzle in the second half of the morning, and that will continue into the afternoon. It will probably be enough to cause some minor travel impacts just due to a thin glaze of ice accreting on some things like bridges, overpasses, the roads, while the ground temperature right now is generally in the lower 40s. A lot of us have a soil temperature around 40 to 45 degrees. That's 47 down in Childress this afternoon, it was anyway. So it may take a little bit of time for the ground to reach that freezing point. I don't think it's going to take very long, though. By Friday afternoon, those temperatures down into those 20s and teens, it's going to be a very cold stretch of weather for us. And then moving into Friday night, this is when we see that first round of snow. Probably still going to be a wintry mix down in Cottle and Childress County on Friday night into Saturday. Could be some freezing rain. More than likely would start transitioning to sleet pretty quickly. So it's still going to start to accumulate. But we will see that first band of snow set up. It's largely going to favor areas in northern Oklahoma and in southern Kansas. That's where they will likely see some of the more significant snow accumulations from the first event. We have a second one that we'll have to talk about, and we're more confident in that one providing some impactful amounts to us here in the panhandles. But a lot of that snow is going to favor the eastern side of our area with this first round. It's not going to be a lot. We're generally expecting 1 to about 3, maybe pockets of 4 inches of snow from that first event. I kind of think Amarillo may end up around an inch of snow by 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. So we will have a little bit. But if you do wake up and you don't see any snow on the ground and it's 9, 10, 11 o'clock on Saturday, don't worry about it too much. We are going to have another round come through, and that's where a bulk of it is going to come working its way through the area. But if you do miss out on that first event, that may impact your overall snow total for the entirety of the winter event. So again, if you're in like an 8 to 12 inch range and you miss the first event, it's 15, 20 miles to your north, you probably are going to have to cut those numbers back just because you missed that first event where you get that extra 2, 3, or maybe 4 inches of snowfall. So just something to consider. Here's the big event that we expect on Saturday evening. And the model has picked this up and started to bring in some precipitation a little bit sooner than the last model has. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 2 in the afternoon. We're already starting to see that next band of accumulating snow develop and build out in eastern New Mexico and start pushing into our western counties. So by Saturday afternoon, for Amarillo, we're going to say probably around 5, 6 p.m. is when that snow, that really significant accumulating snow, is going to start pushing into the area. And we expect it to persist for about 12 hours. It's going to be a pretty heavy snow rate. There could be some pockets in there where if you're in the heaviest bands, you're seeing snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches per hour. There's a lot of vertical and rising motion with this second event, and there's a lot of moisture with it too. And so we are going to see probably some very heavy bands set up shop somewhere where you are getting that really high snow accumulation rate of about 1 to 2 inches per hour. And I wouldn't be shocked if we get some thunder snow with some of this either. There is just enough instability. Usually when we have a lot of that rising motion in the atmosphere, that can tap into some of that elevated instability up there aloft, and it can sometimes lead to a lightning strike and then that occasional rumble of thunder. We do clear out Sunday afternoon. Temperatures are going to be brutally cold later in the day. We probably only get back up into the teens on Sunday, and depending on where the heaviest snowpack is, it's going to impact your temperatures moving into early next week. I would expect us to still stay below freezing on Monday. Getting into Tuesday, however, it's going to be more questionable. A handful of us will probably get above 32, especially if we only had 4 or 5 inches of snow. A lot of that should melt by the end of the day on Monday, and so you'll probably end up getting maybe just above freezing in some places. So here's our ice accretion totals. This is for Friday, and really only Friday. We don't expect much snow for the rest of this event. You can see they're very light totals, under 1/10 of an inch. About 1/10 of an inch is probably the high-end amount that you'll end up seeing from this stuff tomorrow, but it's enough to cause problems. So just drive with caution. Make sure that you're spending extra time getting to destinations if you do plan on moving about across the Panhandle tomorrow. The longer we get into the day, probably the worse the conditions will be. It's not going to be a huge issue, but it's something that we can't discount. It's probably going to create some slick bridges and some slick overpasses. So here's the snowfall amounts. You can see again that first round really favoring the eastern Panhandle. They picked up anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow, had about 3/4 of an inch here in Amarillo with that first event. And then here comes the second one. Obviously, you can see it really fills in the map quite nicely, especially from areas along Highway 54 and then south and east of there. Again, the threshold for a winter storm warning is 5 inches of snow. So areas that are in the advisory, Dalhart, Boise City, and Clayton, model's doing a pretty good job for you guys, holding you under that threshold. But there may be some pockets up there. Just depends on where the band's set up. I do want to pinpoint this band right here, which is really close to the Highway 60 corridor. A lot of models have been hit and miss on that one over the last 6 to 12 hours. Some of them have painted a really nice swath of snow from eastern New Mexico all the way up through Amarillo, up Highway 60 towards Canadian. And then there's other ones that really have that band only setting up over the northeast half of the highway corridor from just northeast of Amarillo back up towards Canadian and eventually into northwest Oklahoma and into southern Kansas. There is some uncertainty on if that band will fill in and completely fill up as you get back here into the western Panhandle and into eastern New Mexico. If it does, I would not be shocked if we have to bump up our snow totals again. But right now, with the trend that we've seen, a lot of our QPF values, our precipitation amount, our liquid precipitation have been on a downtrend. And so we're going to keep you guys in that 5 to 8 range across most of the western Panhandle, back into eastern New Mexico. Obviously, the model's got some pockets in here that are purple. That's where you're getting 8+ inches of snowfall. Can't discount that, but right now with the way things are trending, it doesn't look ideal. Now keep in mind, we're still about 48 hours out from that main event on Saturday night. So we still have time for the forecast to change, especially in regards to the second round of snow. I think the first one is kind of locked in stone at this point. Any kind of appreciable snow that we see from it is really going to favor areas here in the eastern panhandle. That's where most of the higher totals will be anyway from that first event. The second one, I still think there's some room for some minor adjustments in the forecast, but for now, this is what we're going with. We're going to have a lot of us in that 5 to 8 range over in Quay, Curry, and Roosevelt County, and then you go up the Highway 60 corridor, and that's pretty much the same. As you get towards Canadian, though, we do have that pink region where we've got 8 to 12, getting close to a foot of snow. That could be a cumbersome amount. It's a very dry, powdery snow, so it will drift pretty easy. I don't think snow loading is going to be a big issue with this event. Snow loading is just when you get so much weight on top of an object that it has the tendency to collapse, especially for poor structures like really old pole barns and things of that nature. I don't think that's going to be a big problem for us this go around. With how cold we're going to be, the snow is going to be pretty dry and powdery. Dalhart, we have you in the 3 to 5, but less than probably winter storm warning criteria. I wouldn't be shocked if there's probably some pockets up here in the Oklahoma Panhandle that also maybe miss out on getting to the, by definition, winter storm warning criteria, but there is still, there's probably going to be a pretty high contrast or gradient as you get from Boise City to Beaver, going from no snow to an appreciable amount. You can see that we've got like a 6-inch spread there. And then this is what the model's best guess is as far as liquid precipitation for us. You can see it's got about 4/10 of an inch of moisture for Amarillo, and we went with a 20 to 1 ratio for our snowfall. That might be underdoing it. Sometimes when those temperatures in the single digits in the teens, we can get snow to liquid ratios as high as about 35 to 1. That's another concern in the forecast that we're trying to sort out and figure out. But I think we're probably going to get about 3 to 4/10 of an inch of precipitation here kind of in the Amarillo area from this event. Should we get 6-7 tenths of moisture, that's when you start getting closer to that foot of snowfall. That's not out of the question. That's just kind of our worst case scenario right now. I think our more likely option is going to be that 5 to 8 inches. We could end up with a foot. It's just we're going to need some of those heavier bands to fill in and set up shop, and we're going to need probably a couple inches of snow from the first event as well. Here's our 7-day tracker. Have not changed anything on this. Gonna keep our temperature at 31. The National Weather Service has us at 29 tomorrow for a high temperature in Amarillo, but we may get just above freezing between 6 and 9 a.m. So there is that potential that we maybe restart our clock for consecutive hours below freezing. We will stay below freezing on Saturday and Sunday. I actually want to jump back and let's talk about the other aspect of this, and that is the wind chill. So the wind chill is also going to be a big problem for us, especially as we get into Friday night, Saturday morning, through Saturday and into Sunday morning. So this is just what it feels like as you step outside. This is 4 p.m. on Friday. You can see the conditions continue to deteriorate as we get further into the afternoon. Canadian feeling like 0, feeling like -6 in Perryton. Still feeling like 20 degrees in Clovis, but the Arctic front again taking a little bit longer to reach you guys over in the land of enchantment. As we get to Saturday morning, our wind chills are between 5 and 15 below 0. That is cold enough for most of us to get into a cold weather advisory. When you start getting to those values that are close to 15 below 0, that's when frostbite and hypothermia become legitimate concerns. In as little as 30 minutes, it usually takes about an hour for it to set in, but could do so as quickly as a half an hour. So if you do have to go outside Friday night into Saturday morning, make sure you are dressed in layers. You're covering up as much as exposed skin as possible. I know a lot of us have livestock. You've got to take care of them too. So I understand that. Just make sure that you cover up and before you head out there as well, so that you make sure that they've got some water to drink. Saturday afternoon, we get a little bit of some moderation from the brutal wind chills, but it's still going to be very uncomfortable to be outside. Wind chill still below 0, and it stays below 0 even into Sunday morning. I do think that the model might be underdoing our numbers here as we get into Sunday morning, because we'll also have the big snowpack on the ground. I don't think it's out of the possibility for us to get wind chills between -15 and -25, especially in areas that are further north and maybe have 8 to 12 inches of snow on the ground. If that wind is blowing at 5 to 15 miles an hour, especially above 10 miles an hour, that wind chill is going to start to really drop very quickly. And that's when it becomes dangerous to be out there, especially if you're not dressed for it. So Saturday morning, really through the day Saturday and especially Sunday morning is gonna be kind of the worst time. I think Sunday morning is gonna be probably the absolute worst period with this entirety of the event. Moving into Monday morning, though, we probably will still have some areas where temperatures are down to or even below zero, and wind chills probably very similar to this as well. But we will get some moderation in our feel likes as we get into the afternoon Sunday because we'll also get some sunshine. And then on Monday and Tuesday, you can see those temperatures do start to moderate back up close to freezing. And so we may get a little bit of some reprieve or at least some relief as we get into the afternoons. But the mornings are definitely going to be brutal. That's all we've got for you. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll continue to keep you up to date here at Storm Search 7. If you have some really nice photos that you want to send us, you can upload them to Chime In. If you got a big snow embankment or a snow drift that's covering the side of the house, we'd love to see it. I'm sure the rest of the viewers would love to see it. You can scan that QR code on the left-hand side of the screen. That's going to direct you to our Chime In web page so that you can upload some of those photos with us here at Storm Search 7. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully you've got everything for this stretch of it.